What if the son you raised, the boy you gave everything to, turned your life into a lie? Picture this. $3 million my blood, sweat, and legacy poured into a dream I thought was ours, only to be spat on, smeared, and betrayed by the one person I trusted most. My name is Bill Harper, and I built an empire, brick by brick, for my family. But when they banned me from their Christmas table and framed me for crimes I didn't commit, the truth became my weapon. They thought they could break me, bury me, make me beg. They were wrong. What would you do if your own flesh and blood sold your soul for money? Stick with RevengeX to find out how far I went to reclaim my name and what it cost me. Welcome to RevengeX, where electrifying stories of betrayal and triumph set your soul ablaze. We're thrilled to have you join our community of viewers who celebrate unyielding resilience and fierce courage. Hit that subscribe button to never miss a heart-pounding tale, and it'd be incredible if you smashed the like button, shared this video, or dropped a comment with the time and city or country you're watching from. Your likes, shares, and heartfelt comments are the greatest spiritual gift, the fuel that keeps this channel burning bright. Now, buckle up for a story that'll hit you right in the feels. Let's dive in. My name is Bill Harper, a 6'8" widower who built a construction empire from a single toolbox in Boise, Idaho. 40 years ago, I laid my first brick, my hands calloused, my dreams bigger than the Idaho sky. I turned Harper Builders into a name that meant something. Hundreds of homes, schools, and community centers bear my mark, each one a testament to sweat soaked into the earth. My wife Ellen was my anchor, her laughter the blueprint for every good thing in my life until cancer stole her 10 years ago. I thought my son Ethan would carry that legacy forward, that the blood we shared meant loyalty, love, maybe even gratitude. I was wrong. When Ethan told me I wasn't welcome at his Christmas dinner, his words cut deeper than any blade. I smiled, walked to my truck, and made a call that stopped their $1 million mortgage payments cold. That was just the spark. What I did next turned their world to ash. And the betrayals, oh, they piled up like a house of cards, waiting to burn. The December air in Boise was sharp, the kind that bites your knuckles and makes your breath hang like a ghost. I sat on Ethan's custom leather sectional, the one I'd paid $75,000 for when his wife, Vanessa, decided their old furniture wasn't elevated enough for their new McMansion in the North End. The living room glowed with the flicker of a 20-foot Christmas tree, its ornaments glittering like the $300,000 I'd wired for their interior designer. I leaned back, trying to bridge the gap that had grown between us since Ellen died. "I could make my smoked brisket this year," I said, my voice warm with memory. "You know, the one with the bourbon glaze your mom swore was better than anything in Texas." The words felt like an offering, a tether to the days when Ethan would beg for seconds, his boyish grin lighting up our modest kitchen. Ethan shifted, his Rolex catching the light, a $50,000 gift from me for his 40th birthday. His shoulders hunched, like he was dodging a punch he knew was coming. "Dad," he said, his voice low, "you're not welcome here for Christmas." The words slammed into me, a sledgehammer to the chest. I blinked, my heart stuttering, certain I'd misheard. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice cracking despite my effort to keep it steady. Ethan wouldn't look at me, his eyes locked on the marble coffee table. $40,000, my second mortgage's contribution. "Vanessa's parents are coming," he mumbled. "They'd prefer you not be here. It's easier this way, Dad. You know how they are about their traditions." "Easier." The word echoed like a gunshot. I looked around the room, my fingerprints on every inch. The mahogany bookshelves, $80,000 from my retirement fund. The crystal chandelier Vanessa needed for ambiance, $35,000. My credit card maxed out. The hardwood floors I'd paid $200,000 to install when Vanessa complained about carpet stains. This house, this $4 million monument to their entitlement, was my sacrifice, my love poured into concrete and glass. And now, I was being erased from it. "Their traditions," I repeated, my voice hollow. "And what are those, Ethan?" He flinched, his fingers twisting the Rolex. "Dad, don't make this harder than it needs to be." Harder. I wanted to laugh, but my throat was too tight. Through the kitchen archway, I saw Vanessa's new Sub-Zero fridge, $25,000. My money, because she couldn't host properly without it. I'd spent 7 years bleeding my savings dry, $3 million total, to keep their lifestyle afloat. $3 million. More than Ellen and I had saved for our entire future, gone to prop up a son who couldn't even look me in the eye. "Where am I supposed to go for Christmas?" I asked, quieter than I meant. Ethan's face crumpled, but his words were a dodge. "Maybe Aunt Clara's? Or we could do something after, like the weekend after." The weekend after. Like I was a dentist appointment, not his father. I stood, my knees aching from years of carrying this family alone. My eyes caught the family photos on the mantle, each one showing me smaller, pushed to the edges, while Vanessa's parents, Charles and Evelyn Wentworth, loomed large, their Ivy League smugness radiating. I walked to the door, past the coat closet stuffed with Vanessa's $10,000 designer jackets. My hand gripped the brass knob, cold as betrayal. "Son," I said without turning, "tell Vanessa's parents I wish them a Merry Christmas." The door clicked shut behind me, final as a coffin lid. Outside, the Boise night was a slap of cold reality. I climbed into my F-150, the same truck I'd driven since Ethan was in diapers. Its dashboard cracked from years I couldn't afford to replace it. The Christmas lights on their street twinkled, mocking me from houses where families gathered without ultimatums. My phone buzzed, probably Ethan with some half-hearted apology. I ignored it. Instead, I drove into the darkness, the heater's hum drowning out the ache in my chest. Boise's north end blurred past. Every corner, a memory of the man I used to be, the one who believed family was unbreakable, who'd give his last dime for his son's smile. That man was dead. At a stoplight on State Street, I watched a young dad load presents into his minivan, his kids pressing their faces to the glass, eyes bright with holiday joy. That was us once, Ethan and me, before Vanessa's claws sank in, before I became a walking checkbook. The numbers started spinning in my head, a slot machine of regret. $3 million over 7 years. $3 million. The down payment alone was $500,000, my home equity loan drained to nothing. A second mortgage for their pool, $250,000, when Ethan lost his job and Vanessa refused to live like peasants. Monthly payments of $10,000 every month for 7 years. I'd stopped buying new clothes, eaten ramen to stretch my budget, skipped vacations while they jetted to Aspen and the Maldives on my dime. I pulled into my driveway, the concrete cracked from neglect, my porch light flickering because every dollar went to their $4 million palace. Inside, my house was a tomb without Ellen's warmth. The walls needed paint. The fridge hummed with age repairs I'd delayed to fund their granite countertops and wine cellars. My phone rang. Vanessa's name flashed. Her usual syrupy tone ready to justify why I wasn't good enough for her parents' refined Christmas. I let it ring, my blood boiling. Then a text from Clara, my sister, the one person who'd always had my back. "Bill, you okay?" Ethan called me, sounded guilty. "What happened?" Clara, loyal as ever, who'd warned me years ago about Vanessa's greed. I didn't reply yet. I needed to think. Then another call, Charles Wentworth, Vanessa's father, probably ready to lecture me on family decorum. I answered, my voice ice. "What do you want, Charles?" His tone was pure arrogance. "William, we need to discuss your role in this family. My wife and I expect a certain standard at Christmas, and your rustic presence doesn't fit." Rustic. My construction empire had built half of Boise, but to him, I was a dirt-stained laborer. "You mean my money fits, but I don't," I shot back. He laughed, cold and sharp. "Let's not pretend you're anything more than a means to an end, William." The line went dead, and so did something inside me. The betrayals stacked like bricks. Ethan's silence, Vanessa's manipulation, Charles and Evelyn's elitism, and now, a new player, Patricia Holt, a local reporter Vanessa had cozied up to at her country club, already sniffing for a story to paint me as the villain. I could feel it coming, a public smear to justify their greed. My heart pounded, torn between grief and rage. I wanted to scream, to beg Ethan to see me as his father, not their ATM. But the numbers didn't lie. $3 million, 7 years. A lifetime of trust shattered. I walked to my desk, pulled out the mortgage papers, and made the call. "Cancel the payments," I told the bank, my voice steady. Effective immediately. The war had begun, and I was done playing the fool. The Boise cold clung to my bones as I drove away from Ethan's mansion, my truck's headlights cutting through the December dark like a lifeline I couldn't quite grasp. The heater rattled, a reminder of the repairs I'd never afforded because every dollar went to their $4 million dream house. My chest was a furnace of hurt and rage, the kind that makes you want to punch a wall or cry until you're hollow. I didn't do either. Instead, I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white, and let the numbers run through my head again. $3 million, 7 years. A father's love reduced to a bank statement. I thought that Christmas ban was the worst they could do. I was wrong. The betrayals kept coming, each one sharper, dirtier, piling up like garbage on a curb. By the time I got home, my phone was a ticking bomb of new messages, and what I found next made me realize This wasn't just a family spat, it was a calculated ambush. I pulled into my driveway, the cracked concrete mocking me under the flicker of that damn porch light. My house, a modest ranch style I'd bought with Ellen when we were young and broke, felt like a museum of lost dreams. Inside, the silence was suffocating, broken only by the buzz of my phone. I ignored it, tossing my keys on the counter, the clink echoing off walls that hadn't seen fresh paint since Ethan was in high school. I poured a glass of water, hands shaking, and finally checked the screen. 5 missed calls. 3 from Vanessa, 1 from Charles, and 1 from a number I didn't recognize. Then a text from Clara, my sister, my rock. Bill, call me. Vanessa's spreading lies at the country club. I heard it from Jenny Martinez, my old office manager, loyal as they come, who'd stuck by me through every lean year at Harper Builders. She'd overheard Vanessa at a holiday mixer, running her mouth about how I was unstable, a burden who'd embarrassed the family, one too many times. I called Clara, my voice tight. What's she saying? Clara didn't sugarcoat it. Vanessa's telling everyone you're losing it, Bill. Said you stormed out of Ethan's house, screaming, threatening to cut them off. She's painting you as some washed-up old man who can't handle their success. Jenny heard her tell Patricia Holt, you're a drunk who's been mooching off them. A drunk. Mooching. The words hit like a sucker punch. I'd spent $3 million, $3 million propping up their lifestyle, and now Vanessa was spinning it like I was the parasite. My heart sank, a stone in deep water, but the rage bubbled up faster. Jenny's got your back, Clara said. She told Vanessa to shut her trap, but Patricia's already sniffing for a story. Watch yourself, Bill. I hung up, my pulse hammering. Patricia Holt, that reporter Vanessa had charmed at her fancy club, was a new player in their game, a venomous one. I could see it now. Vanessa feeding her lies, Charles pulling strings with his golf buddies to get it printed, Ethan standing by, silent as always. I paced my kitchen, the linoleum worn from years of my footsteps, each one a reminder of sacrifices they'd never acknowledge. I wanted to call Ethan, to scream, how could you let her do this? But deep down, I knew he'd chosen her, chosen them, over me. The boy I'd raised, who'd once clung to my hand at county fairs, was gone, replaced by a man who let his wife spit on his father's name. Then the doorbell rang, sharp and insistent, like a creditor come to collect. Through the peephole, I saw Tommy Vance, Ethan's old high school buddy, now a slick real estate agent who'd brokered their McMansion deal. Tommy, with his fake tan and shark grin, was Vanessa's lapdog, always sniffing around for a commission or a favor. I opened the door, and he didn't bother with pleasantries. Bill, you screwed up big time. He sneered, his voice pure Boise Street, all swagger and no class. You think you can just pull the plug on Ethan's mortgage and walk away? You're a pathetic old geezer, leeching off their success, and now you're throwing a tantrum because they don't want your sorry ass at Christmas? Get real, man. You're nothing but a washed-up contractor who got lucky once. His words were a blade, twisted with venom, each one designed to cut deeper than the last. I stood there, my fists clenched, fighting the urge to deck him. You got no business here, Tommy, I said, my voice low, dangerous. Get off my porch. He laughed, a nasty bark. Oh, I'm here on business, all right. Vanessa sent me to remind you who's got the power. You think you can embarrass her family? Charles knows people, Bill. People who can bury you. That little stunt with the bank? You're gonna regret it when Patricia's story hits the papers, painting you as the deadbeat dad who abandoned his kid's family. And the threat landed like a Molotov cocktail, igniting every doubt I'd buried. My mind churned, torn between grief and fury. Was this what I'd become? A man whose son let a lowlife like Tommy Vance spit in his face? I thought of Ellen, her gentle smile, how she'd believed in Ethan's goodness, even when he started pulling away. I wanted to believe in him too, to think he didn't know about this smear campaign. But the truth was, uglier he knew, and he let it happen. My chest tightened, a war raging inside me. The father who wanted to forgive, versus the man who'd been betrayed one too many times. Tell Vanessa, I said, my voice steel. She's got 1 week to retract her lies, or I'll make sure Boise knows who the real leeches are. Tommy smirked, unfazed. You're out of your league, old man. Charles and Evelyn are untouchable old money, real connections. You're just a dirtbag with a hammer who got lucky. Keep pushing, and they'll crush you. He turned, sauntering back to his BMW, leaving his words to fester like an open wound. I slammed the door, the sound echoing through my empty house. My hands shook as I leaned against the counter, the weight of their betrayal crushing me. $3 million. 7 years. And now, a public execution of my name, orchestrated by the son I'd loved more than life itself. I sank into a chair, staring at the fridge, where Ellen's old recipe cards still hung, faded but sacred. I wanted to call Clara, to hear her say I wasn't crazy. But my phone buzzed again, a voicemail from Patricia Holt. Mr. Harper, I'm working on a story about your family dispute. Sources say you've been financially unstable, possibly abusive. Care to comment? Abusive. The word was a knife to the gut. I'd never raised a hand to Ethan, never even raised my voice until tonight. Yet here I was, painted as a monster by people I'd bankrolled. My heart screamed to fight back, to call Ethan and beg him to tell the truth. But my head knew better. He'd made his choice. Then another text, this one from Jenny. Bill, I found proof. Vanessa's been charging thousands to your accounts for her business expenses. Receipts at my office. Jenny, bless her, had always seen through Vanessa's facade, warning me when she caught her fudging expense reports at Harper Builders. I stood, my resolve hardening. This wasn't just about Christmas anymore, it was war. I grabbed my coat and headed to Jenny's office, ready to unearth every lie they'd built on my dime. The Boise night closed around me, but for the first time in years, I felt something new. Not just pain, but power. They wanted to play dirty? I'd show them what a man with nothing left to lose could do. The Boise streets blurred past as I drove to Jenny's office, the night air thick with the promise of snow and the sting of betrayal. My truck's engine growled, mirroring the storm in my chest, a roiling mix of grief, rage, and something new, something sharp and unyielding. I'd spent 7 years pouring $3 million into Ethan and Vanessa's gilded cage, only to be spat on, smeared, and cast out like yesterday's trash. Vanessa's lies at the country club, Tommy's venom on my porch, and now Patricia Holt's voicemail painting me as an abusive deadbeat. It was a coordinated gut punch, each blow landing harder than the last. I wanted to believe Ethan wasn't part of this, that my son was just a bystander in Vanessa's war, but the silence from his number told me otherwise. As I pulled into Jenny's lot, the truth settled like concrete. This wasn't just a family feud, it was a calculated takedown, and I was done being their punching bag. Jenny's office, a small brick building tucked behind a strip mall, was lit up despite the late hour. She was waiting, her desk a fortress of files, her eyes fierce with loyalty. Bill, you look like hell, she said, sliding a coffee across the desk. But I've got something that'll make you feel worse before it gets better. She handed me a stack of receipts, hundreds of thousands of dollars in charges Vanessa had funneled through Harper Builders' accounts, labeled as consulting fees for her non-existent event planning business. $50,000 for a client dinner at a Napa Valley vineyard. $80,000 for marketing materials that turned out to be her personal wardrobe. $25,000 for a charity gala that never happened. My stomach churned. This is fraud, I whispered, my voice shaking. Jenny nodded, her jaw tight. She's been bleeding you dry, Bill. And Ethan signed off on half of it. Ethan, my boy. The kid who'd once drawn me as a superhero in crayon, now complicit in stealing millions from the company I'd built. My heart cracked, a fresh wound layered over old scars. I wanted to storm his house, shake him, demand why he'd traded our bond for Vanessa's greed. But another part of me, the part that remembered Ellen's voice saying, "He's still our son," begged me to hold back, to believe he could be saved. I sank into a chair, the receipts trembling in my hands. How did I miss this? I asked, more to myself than Jenny. She leaned forward, her voice soft but firm. You trusted them, Bill. That's not a crime, but what they're doing now, that's war. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed a new text from an unknown number. Check the Boise Chronicle's website. You're trending, old man. My blood ran cold. I opened the link, and there it was. A front-page story by Patricia Holt, headline screaming, "Local tycoon abandons family in holiday scandal." The article was a masterclass in venom, claiming I'd cut off Ethan's mortgage out of spite, left Vanessa's parents stranded in a blizzard at Boise Airport, and had a history of erratic, abusive behavior. No mention of the $3 million I'd poured into their lives. No mention of Vanessa's lies or Ethan's silence. Just me, painted as a monster, with quotes from Charles Wentworth. William Harper's always been a loose cannon. We feared for our daughter's safety. My hands shook, rage and shame colliding. I'd built half this city, employed hundreds, and now I was a pariah in my own hometown. Then the door burst open, and in swaggered Marcus Reed, a sleazy lawyer Vanessa had hired to handle their business affairs. Marcus, with his cheap suit and cheaper morals, was the kind of guy who'd sell his own kids for $1. Well, Bill, he sneered, his voice dripping with street-smart slime. Thought you could play hardball with Vanessa and walk away clean? You're a washed-up nobody, a sad old fool who thinks he's still got pull. You're done, man. This article? Just the start. We've got dirt on you, tax evasion, shady deals, you name it. Keep pushing, and we'll bury you so deep Boise forgets your name. His words were a Molotov cocktail, each syllable meant to burn. I stood, towering over him, my voice low. You're in my house now, Marcus. Get out before I drag you out. He laughed, a hyena's cackle. Oh, big man, huh? Vanessa's got this town in her pocket. Charles knows every judge, every editor. You're just a broke-ass has-been who thought he could screw over the Wentworths. Newsflash, Pops, you're nothing. He tossed a manila envelope on the desk, smirking. Cease and desist order. Drop your little bank stunt or we sue you for everything you've got. He sauntered out, leaving the air toxic with his arrogance. Jenny grabbed the envelope, her face pale. Bill, they're not bluffing. This is legal warfare. I opened the envelope, my hand steady despite the chaos in my chest. The letter demanded I resume the $10,000 monthly payments or face a lawsuit for breach of familial duty. Breach of duty. After $3 million, they had the gall to claim I owed them more. My mind spun, torn between the father who wanted to protect Ethan and the man who'd been stabbed in the back too many times. I thought of Ellen, how she'd always seen the good in people, even when they didn't deserve it. Was I betraying her by fighting back? Or was I honoring her by refusing to let these vipers destroy me? The pain was a living thing, clawing at my heart, but so was the resolve growing beneath it. Then another blow, a call from Sarah Coleman, my old high school friend and a city council member who'd always admired my work. Bill, I hate to tell you this, she said, her voice heavy, but Charles is pushing to revoke your company's city contracts. Says you're unstable and a risk to Boise's reputation. I'm fighting it, but he's got pull. My contract's millions in revenue, hundreds of jobs now at risk because of Charles's vendetta. I thanked Sarah, my voice calm, but inside I was screaming. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about erasing me, my legacy, everything I'd built. I turned to Jenny, her eyes blazing with defiance. What's the plan, Bill? She asked. I looked at the receipts, the article, the cease and desist letter. The betrayals stacked higher. Ethan's complicity, Vanessa's fraud, Charles's power play, Marcus's threats, Patricia's lies, each one a knife, each one a reason to fight. I stood, my resolve hardening like steel. We dig deeper, I said. Every receipt, every email, every deal they've made with my money. They want war? I'll give them one they'll never forget. I grabbed my coat, the Boise night waiting outside. Somewhere in this city, my son was letting his family destroy me. But I wasn't the man who'd break. Not anymore. The Boise night pressed against the windows of Jenny's office, the air heavy with the scent of coffee and betrayal. I sat at her desk, the stack of fraudulent receipts, a grim monument to Vanessa's greed, each one a nail in the coffin of my trust in Ethan. $3 million, my life's work, had been siphoned off to fund their lavish lies, and now they were coming for my name, my legacy, my very existence in this city. The Boise Chronicle article, Marcus's threats, Charles's pull to kill my contracts, it was a noose tightening around my neck. But I wasn't the man who'd bend anymore. My heart was a war zone, torn between the father who still saw Ethan's boyish smile and the man who'd been burned too many times to bleed quietly. As I sifted through the evidence, the door rattled with a new threat, and the betrayals kept piling up, each one a jagged edge sharper than the last. I was ready to fight, but what came next nearly broke me. Jenny's eyes were steel as she handed me a USB drive. This is everything, she said, her voice low, loyal as ever. Bank records, emails, even texts Vanessa thought she'd deleted. She's been using your accounts like her personal ATM for years. I plugged the drive into her laptop, and the screen lit up with proof. $150,000 for a consulting retreat in the Bahamas, $60,000 for a custom chandelier, $30,000 for a networking event that was just a party for Vanessa's country club friends. Ethan's digital signature was on every transaction, his silence louder than any confession. My chest tightened, a vice of grief and fury. I wanted to believe he'd been coerced, that Vanessa's claws had forced his hand. But the truth was uglier. He'd chosen her over me, over everything I'd taught him about honor. Then the phone rang, shattering the quiet. It was Sarah Coleman, her voice tight with urgency. Bill, it's worse than I thought. Charles got the mayor's ear. They're pushing a press conference tomorrow to address concerns about your company's stability. Vanessa's feeding them lies about you skimming funds. skimming funds. The irony was a gut punch. I'd been the one bled dry, and now they were framing me as the thief. Before I could respond, a pounding at the door made Jenny flinch. She opened it, and in stormed Lila Brooks, Vanessa's best friend and a socialite with a tongue sharper than a switchblade. Lila, all fake lashes and designer venom, was the kind of woman who'd smile while slipping a knife in your back. "Well, look at you, Bill," Lila spat, her voice pure Boise street swagger dripping with contempt. "Hiding out in this dump, playing victim? You're a pathetic old dirtbag, thinking you can screw over Vanessa and walk away. You cut off their mortgage? Big mistake, Grandpa. Charles is gonna burn your sorry ass to the ground. You're nothing but a broke loser who got lucky once, and now you're whining because you can't handle their shine." Her words were acid, each one meant to strip me bare. I stood, my voice low, dangerous. "You're on thin ice, Lila. Get out before I make you." She laughed, a vicious cackle. "Oh, please, you washed up nobody. Vanessa's got dirt on you that'll make that Chronicle story look like a love letter. Keep pushing, and we'll make sure every contractor in Boise knows you're a fraud." She tossed a flash drive on the desk, smirking. "Proof of your mismanagement, courtesy of Vanessa. Tax fraud, fake invoices. You're done, old man." She sauntered out, her heels clicking like a countdown to war. Jenny grabbed the drive, her face pale. "Bill, this is bad. They fabricated evidence to frame you for embezzlement." I opened the files, my hands steady despite the storm inside. Forged invoices, doctored ledgers, $200,000 in fake charges pinned on me, designed to make it look like I'd been stealing from my own company. My heart sank, a stone in deep water. Ethan's name was on the documents. His betrayal, now a paper trail. I paced my mind a battlefield. Part of me wanted to call Ethan, to beg him to tell me he didn't know, that he hadn't signed off on this lie. But the father in me was drowning, suffocated by the man who'd been betrayed one too many times. Ellen's voice echoed in my head. "He's our son, Bill. Don't give up on him." "But how do you love someone who's sold you out for a woman who'd rather see you ruined?" My chest ached, a raw, tearing pain, like losing Ellen all over again. I thought of the nights I'd stayed up teaching Ethan to ride a bike, the mornings we'd spent fishing on the Boise River, his laughter brighter than the sun. Was that boy gone forever? Or was he buried under Vanessa's poison, waiting for me to pull him out? I didn't know. And that uncertainty was a knife twisting deeper. Then another blow, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Check your email, Harper. You're finished." I opened my inbox, and there it was, a leaked memo from Charles to the city council, claiming Harper Builders was under investigation for fraud, with credible evidence from Vanessa's independent audit. The memo was keyed to every major client I had, threatening millions in contracts. My legacy, 40 years of sweat and sacrifice, was being dismantled piece by piece. I wanted to scream, to drive to Ethan's house and demand answers, but Jenny's voice cut through. "Bill, we fight this. I've got a friend, Nate Carter, a forensic accountant. He's clean, sharp, and he owes me. He'll tear their lies apart. Are you enjoying the story so far? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Just drop a quick comment below to share how you feel. It only takes a few seconds, but your words give me the motivation and inspiration to make every chapter more thrilling and engaging. Go ahead, let me know what's on your mind. And now, let's dive back into the story. Nate, a wiry guy with a no-nonsense vibe, arrived within the hour, his laptop already humming. "This is sloppy," he said, scanning the forged documents. "They didn't even cover their tracks. I can trace every fake invoice back to Vanessa's accounts. Give me 2 days, and I'll have a report that'll bury them." His confidence was a lifeline, but the pain in my chest didn't ease. I thanked him, my voice hollow, and turned to Jenny. "Why does it hurt so much?" I asked, the words slipping out. "I should hate them, but all I feel is loss." She put a hand on my shoulder, her eyes soft. "Because you love them, Bill. That's what makes this hurt, but it's also what makes you stronger than them." Then the final blow, a voicemail from Ethan, his voice trembling. "Dad, I didn't know about the article or the contracts. Vanessa said it was just to scare you. Please, call me." I stared at the phone, my heart splitting. Was he lying? Or was he trapped? A pawn in Vanessa's game. I wanted to believe him, to run to him like I did when he was a kid with a scraped knee. But the receipts, the signatures, the silence, they told a different story. I set the phone down, my hands shaking, and looked at Jenny and Nate. "We don't stop," I said, my voice steel. "They want to play dirty? I'll show them what a man with nothing left to lose can do." The Boise night loomed outside, but I wasn't alone anymore. I had Jenny, Nate, and the truth, and that was enough to start a fire they'd never see coming. The Boise dawn broke gray and heavy, the kind of morning that promised storms in more ways than one. I sat in my kitchen, the USB drive from Jenny burning a hole in my pocket, its contents a ticking bomb of Vanessa's fraud, hundreds of thousands of dollars in fake charges, Ethan's signatures sealing my betrayal. The Boise Chronicle article, Marcus's cease and desist, Charles's memo to my clients, it was a full-scale assault, each move designed to bury me. My heart was a fractured thing, split between the father who wanted to save his son and the man who'd been spit on one too many times. Ethan's voicemail echoed in my head, his trembling plea. I didn't know, Dad. But the signatures, the silence, the years of letting Vanessa's venom fester, they told a truth louder than his words. As I poured my coffee, the doorbell screamed, and the next wave of betrayal crashed in, each twist more vicious than the last. I was ready to fight, but what came next pushed me to the edge of everything I thought I could endure. The coffee mug was still warm in my hands when the pounding started, a relentless hammer on my front door that rattled the frame. Through the peephole, I saw Vanessa herself, her designer coat flapping like a vulture's wings, her face twisted with a fury I'd never seen. Behind her stood Greg Tatum, a shady accountant who'd once worked for Harper Builders until I fired him for skimming petty cash. Greg, with his greasy ponytail and knockoff Rolex, was Vanessa's new attack dog, another pawn in her game to destroy me. I opened the door, and Vanessa didn't wait for an invitation. She stormed in, her voice a street-sharp snarl. You think you're slick, huh, Bill? Cutting off our money and playing hero with your little evidence? You're a sad, broke-ass old man who's too stupid to know when he's beat. You're nothing but a has-been, crying because we don't need your sorry ass anymore. Keep pushing, and I'll make sure this town spits on your grave. Her words were a flamethrower, scorching every raw nerve. Greg smirked, leaning against my doorframe. Yeah, Bill, you're done, he drawled, his voice dripping with gutter smugness. We've got your books cooked 6 ways to Sunday. Tax evasion, fraud, you're looking at jail time, old-timer. Hand over that USB, or we'll make sure every client you've got sees you for the crook you are. My blood boiled, but I kept my voice steady, cold as the Boise winter. You're in my house, Vanessa. You and your lapdog get out, or I'll call the cops myself. She laughed, a jagged, vicious sound. Cops? Please. Charles owns half the precinct. You're just a washed-up nobody who thought he could play with the big dogs. Give it up, or we'll burn your whole world down. Huh? She tossed a folder onto my counter, papers spilling out fake audits claiming I'd embezzled $2 million from Harper Builders, with Greg's forged signatures tying me to non-existent offshore accounts. My heart stopped, the room tilting. This wasn't just a smear. It was a death sentence for my company, my legacy. I wanted to grab Vanessa, shake her, scream, "How could you do this to me?" But the father in me, the one who still saw Ethan's crayon drawings, clawed at my chest, begging me to believe he wasn't part of this. Was he? Or was he just a puppet, dancing on Vanessa's strings? The pain was a tidal wave, drowning me in memories of Ellen's voice. Family's worth fighting for, Bill. But what do you do when family's the one holding the knife? Then the phone buzzed a text from Clara. Bill, check your email now. They're escalating. I opened my laptop, and my gut dropped. An email from the Boise Chamber of Commerce, forwarded by Sarah Coleman, announced an emergency review of Harper Builders membership, citing ethical concerns based on Vanessa's fabricated evidence. Attached was a press release, already circulating, claiming I'd defrauded clients for millions. My contracts, my employees' jobs, 40 years of sweat gone, unless I could stop this. My hands shook, rage and despair colliding like thunderheads. I wanted to call Ethan, to hear him say he didn't know, but the signatures on those fake audits burned in my mind. Had I raised a son who'd sell me out for a woman who'd rather see me in prison? Before I could process it, the doorbell rang again. This time, it was Nate Carter, the forensic accountant, his face grim but determined. Bill, I've got something, he said, setting up his laptop. Vanessa's been funneling money through shell companies. $180,000 to a Cayman account, another $75,000 to a consulting firm tied to Greg. I can prove it's all your money. His words were a lifeline, but the weight of Ethan's betrayal dragged me under. I sank into a chair, my voice barely a whisper. Nate, why does it feel like I'm losing him all over again? He paused, his eyes soft with understanding. Because you love him, Bill. That's what makes this hell. But you're not alone. Jenny, Sarah, me. We've got your back. Then another blow, my phone lit up with a call from Derek Walsh, a former client turned city council ally, his voice tight with panic. Bill, Charles just pitched a smear campaign to the council. They're calling you a public risk and pushing to blacklist Harper builders from all city projects. Vanessa's claiming you threatened her physically. Threatened her. The lie was a sledgehammer, shattering the last piece of my hope that Ethan might be innocent. My mind flashed to him as a boy, building model houses with me in our garage, his laughter filling the air. Was that boy gone forever, or was he trapped, too weak to fight Vanessa's poison? The grief was a living thing, clawing at my heart, but the rage was stronger, a fire that refused to die. I stood, my resolve hardening like steel. Nate, get that report done. I want every cent traced, every lie exposed. I turned to the folder Vanessa had left, the fake audits staring back like a dare. They want to play dirty? I said, my voice low, dangerous. I'll show them what dirty looks like. I grabbed my phone and called Jenny, who answered on the first ring. Bill, what's the move? She asked, her loyalty a beacon in the dark. We go public, I said. Every receipt, every email, every lie. They think they can bury me? I'll drag them into the light. The Boise morning loomed outside, cold and unforgiving. But I wasn't fighting alone anymore. Vanessa, Charles, Greg, they'd built a house of lies, and I was ready to burn it down, even if it meant losing Ethan for good. The Boise air was thick with the promise of a storm, the kind that breaks open the sky and washes away pretense. I stood in my living room, Nate's report, a loaded weapon on my table, $300,000 laundered through Vanessa's fake LLC. Ethan's name scrawled on every damning document. The viral video, the forged police report, the canceled contracts, they were a siege. Each attack meant to erase me from the city I'd built. My heart was a raw wound, torn between the father who still saw Ethan's boyish grin and the man whose trust had been shattered beyond repair. His voicemail, "I didn't know, Dad," was a fading echo, drowned by the evidence of his complicity. I was ready to take their lies to the press, to burn their house of deceit to the ground. But as I prepared, a new barrage of betrayals hit, each one a vicious twist that pushed me to the edge of breaking. I wasn't just fighting for my name anymore, I was fighting for my soul. I was on the phone with Jenny, finalizing our plan to send Nate's report to every news outlet in Boise, when my doorbell erupted in a furious pounding, like a fist demanding blood. Through the peephole, I saw Vanessa's lawyer, Marcus Reed, his cheap suit reeking of desperation, flanked by Vince Malone, a former Harper Builders foreman I'd fired for stealing equipment. Vince, with his tattooed knuckles and shark-eyed sneer, was Vanessa's latest hired thug. I opened the door, and Marcus stormed in, his voice a street-sharp blade. "You're a dead man, Bill," he snarled, his face inches from mine. "Think you can play whistleblower and walk away? You're a broke ass, has been. A pathetic old fool who's too dumb to quit. We've got a new video," your voice, begging Vanessa for forgiveness, doctored to make you sound like a drunk. "It's hitting X tonight, and you'll be Boise's biggest joke by dawn." Vince cracked his knuckles, grinning. "Yeah, Bill, you're screwed. Hand over that report, or we'll make sure every bar in town knows you're a washed-up loser who cries for his kid." Their words were a wildfire, scorching every inch of my resolve. A doctored video of me begging? The audacity was a gut punch, but the thought that Ethan might have helped create it was a knife to the heart. I stood tall, my voice ice cold. "You're in my house, Marcus. You and your goon get out, or I'll show you what a loser can do." Marcus laughed, a hyena's cackle. "Oh, please, you sad old dirtbag. Ethan's done with you, gave us your voicemails to twist. You're nothing to him now, just a paycheck we don't need." The mention of Ethan's voicemails was a sledgehammer, shattering the last shard of hope I'd clung to. Had he recorded me, knowing it would be weaponized? My mind flashed to him at 8, clinging to me after a nightmare, his trust absolute. Was that boy a lie? Or was he buried under Vanessa's poison, too weak to fight? The grief was a tidal wave, threatening to drown me, but the rage was a furnace, burning brighter with every lie. Then my phone buzzed a text from Sarah Coleman. "Bill, KTVB just got a tip. Vanessa's claiming you bribed city officials for contracts. They're running it at 6. Bribery." The accusation was a death knell, threatening to wipe out my remaining $10 million contracts and the jobs of 200 employees. My chest tightened, the room spinning. I wanted to call Ethan, to beg him to deny it. But the voicemails, the signatures, the silence, they screamed his guilt. Ellen's voice whispered, "He's our son, Bill." But the pain was a living thing, clawing at my soul, tearing apart the father I'd been. I was losing him, my boy, my legacy, and the world was cheering for my downfall. Before I could catch my breath, Jenny burst in, her face ashen but fierce, holding a laptop. "Bill, Nate's got more," she said, her voice trembling with urgency. "Vanessa's been selling your company's proprietary designs $500,000 to a rival firm, signed by Ethan. Another betrayal, another blade. My company's designs, the blueprints I'd spent decades perfecting, sold out from under me." I sank into a chair, my voice barely audible. "Jenny, how do I keep going when it's him doing this?" Her eyes softened, her loyalty a beacon in the dark. "Because you're not just fighting for you, Bill. You're fighting for the people who believe in you, your workers, your clients, Ellen's memory." Then another blow, a call from Derek Walsh, his voice frantic. "Bill, Charles just leaked a forged email to the city council, claiming you threatened to firebomb their offices if they didn't renew your contracts. They're calling an emergency vote to ban you from all future bids." Firebombing. The lie was so outrageous it was almost laughable, but it threatened my entire legacy. My heart screamed to save Ethan, to believe he didn't know, but the evidence was a noose his name on every document, his voice in their arsenal. I saw him at 15, helping me haul lumber, his pride in me brighter than the Boise sky. Was that boy gone forever, or could I still reach him? The grief was a weight I could barely carry, but the rage was a fire, burning away doubt. I stood, my voice cold as steel. "Jenny, get Nate's report to KTVB, the Chronicle, every outlet. We're not waiting for their next hit." I turned to Marcus, still smirking in my living room. "You think you've won?" I said, my eyes burning. "I've got every dollar you stole, every lie you spun, and I'm taking it to the world. You want to play dirty? I'll show you what a man with nothing left to lose can do." Marcus's smile faltered, but Vince stepped forward. His voice, a growl. "You're bluffing, old man. That video's gonna bury you, and Ethan's laughing with us." I held their gaze, unflinching. "Try me." They left, their threats lingering like poison, but I wasn't alone. Jenny dialed Nate, her fingers flying, while I called Sarah. "Hold the council off," I told her. "We're going public tonight." I grabbed my coat, the Boise storm brewing outside. Somewhere in this city, Ethan was letting his family destroy me. But I had Jenny, Nate, Sarah, and the truth. It was time to light a fire they'd never see coming, even if it meant burning my last tie to my son. The Boise storm broke at last, rain lashing my windows like the fury I'd kept caged too long. Nate's report was a grenade, packed with proof of Vanessa's crimes, $500,000 in stolen designs, $300,000 laundered through a sham charity, Ethan's name on every betrayal. The doctored video, the forged police report, the smear campaign costing me $10 million in contracts. It was a death spiral, each lie a calculated strike to erase my legacy. My heart was a shattered relic, torn between the father who saw Ethan's wide-eyed trust and the man whose faith had been burned to ash. His plea, "I didn't know, Dad," was a fading whisper against the roar of his complicity. I'd sent Nate's report to every news outlet, ready to torch their lies, but as the clock ticked toward the evening news, a new wave of treachery crashed in, each twist a vicious claw ripping at my soul. I was fighting for more than my name now. I was fighting to reclaim the man I'd been before they broke me. I paced my living room, the rain's drumbeat matching the pounding in my chest, when my phone erupted with a call from KTVB's news desk. "Mr. Harper, we've received your evidence," the producer said, her voice cautious but curious. "We're running a segment tonight, but Vanessa Wentworth's team sent us a counterstatement. They claim you fabricated the financial records to frame her. Any response?" Fabricated. The word was a gut punch, turning my own truth against me. Before I could answer, a text from Jenny flashed. "Bill, check X, now. It's bad." I opened the app, and my blood ran cold. A new post from Carla Diaz, Vanessa's gossip columnist, showed a forged email supposedly from me confessing to falsifying Harper Builders books to destroy Vanessa's reputation. 50,000 shares, comments branding me a liar, a con man. My heart sank, the betrayal a blade twisting deeper. Had Ethan helped craft this lie? The thought was a guillotine, severing the last thread of hope I'd clung to. Then my doorbell thundered, a violent assault that shook the walls. Through the peephole, I saw Tony Rizzo, the crooked contractor, his face twisted with rage, flanked by Monica Hayes, a disgraced PR agent I'd once turned down for a job. Monica, with her fake tears and viper smile, was Vanessa's latest weapon. I opened the door, and Tony barged in, his voice a street-sharp snarl. "You're done, Bill," he growled, his breath reeking of cheap whiskey. "Think you can play hero with your little report? You're a broke-ass nobody, a sad old dirtbag who's too stupid to quit. We've got your emails, your confession, and Monica's ready to spin it so you look like a psycho. Hand over that evidence, or we'll make sure you're run out of Boise like the loser you are. Monica smirked, twirling her hair. Yeah, Bill, you're finished. Keep pushing, and we'll make sure every church in town prays for your soul to rot. Their words were a flamethrower, scorching every nerve. A forged confession? The audacity was a slap. But the thought that Ethan might have fed them my emails was a dagger to the heart. I stood tall, my voice ice cold. You're trespassing, Tony. You and your PR hack get out, or I'll show you what a loser can do. Tony laughed, a guttural bark. Oh please, you washed-up fool. Ethan's spilling every secret you've got. He's done with you. Bill gave us your whole email server. You're nothing but a bankroll we don't need anymore. The mention of Ethan's betrayal was a sledgehammer, my chest caving in. Had he hacked my emails, knowing they'd be twisted into lies? My mind flashed to him at 10, running to me with a scraped knee, his trust brighter than the Boise sun. Was that boy a mirage, or was he still in there, trapped in Vanessa's venom? The grief was a tidal wave, threatening to drown me, but the rage was a furnace, burning brighter with every deception. Then another blow, my phone buzzed with a text from Derek Walsh. Bill, the mayor's office just got a fake whistleblower report. Says you paid off inspectors for $20 million in contracts. Vanessa's team leaked it, $20 million. The lie was a death knell, threatening to wipe out my remaining clients and the livelihoods of my 200 employees. My hands shook, the room spinning. I wanted to call Ethan, to beg him to deny it, but the forged email, the stolen designs, his silence, they screamed his guilt. Ellen's voice whispered, "He's our son, Bill," but the pain was a living thing, clawing at my soul, tearing apart the father I'd been. I was losing him, my legacy, and the world was cheering for my destruction. Before I could breathe, Sarah Coleman burst through the door, her face pale but fierce, holding a USB drive. Bill, Nate's got more, she said, her voice trembling with urgency. Vanessa's been bribing city officials $200,000 to push your blacklist. Ethan's name is on the wire transfers. Another betrayal, another knife. My son, not just complicit, but bankrolling their war against me. I sank into a chair, my voice barely audible. Sarah, how do I fight when it's him? Her eyes softened, her loyalty a beacon. Because you're not just fighting for you, Bill. You're fighting for the truth. For the people who've stood by you. For Ellen's memory. Then the final blow, a call from Nate, his voice grim. Bill, I found a hidden server. Vanessa's been selling your client data $300,000 to a competitor, signed by Ethan. It's enough to trigger a federal investigation. Federal investigation, the words were a death sentence, threatening not just my company, but my freedom. I saw Ethan at 18, promising to join me at Harper Builders, his eyes full of pride. Was that boy gone forever, or could I still save him? The grief was a weight I could barely carry, but the rage was a fire, burning away doubt. I stood, my voice cold as steel. Nate, send everything to the feds. Sarah, get KTVB on the line. We're not waiting for their next lie. Empt. I turned to Tony, still smirking in my living room. You think you've won? I said, my eyes burning. I've got every dollar you stole, every lie you spun, and it's going to the feds, the press, the world. You want to play dirty? I'll show you what a man with nothing left to lose can do. Tony's smile faltered, but Monica stepped forward, her voice a sneer. You're bluffing, old man. That email's gonna bury you, and Ethan's laughing with us. I held their gaze unflinching. Try me. They left, their threats lingering like poison. But I wasn't alone. Jenny, Nate, Sarah, Derek, they were my family now, bound by truth, not blood. The Boise storm raged outside, but I was ready to unleash a reckoning they'd never survive, even if it meant losing Ethan forever. The Boise rain pounded my roof like a war drum, each drop echoing the fire in my veins. Nate's report was a loaded gun, $500,000 in stolen designs, $300,000 laundered through a sham charity, all stamped with Ethan's betrayal. The forged email, the doctored video, the bribery accusations, they were a relentless assault, each lie a calculated blow to bury my legacy. My heart was a bleeding wound, torn between the father who still saw Ethan's childhood trust and the man whose faith had been ground to dust. His plea, I didn't know, Dad, was a ghost in my mind, drowned by the evidence of his complicity. I'd sent the truth to every news outlet, ready to burn their house of lies to the ground. But as the evening news loomed, a new storm of treachery broke. Each betrayal, a jagged edge, cutting deeper than the last. I was fighting for my soul. But what came next was a reckoning I hadn't prepared for. I was loading Nate's report onto a secure drive, my hands steady despite the chaos in my chest, when my phone screamed with a call from Ethan. His voice was raw, trembling. "Dad, please. You've got to stop this. Vanessa's losing it. She says you're ruining us." The words were a knife, twisting in my gut. Ruining them? After $3 million, after they'd smeared my name across Boise, he had the gall to beg for mercy? "Ethan," I said, my voice low. "You signed those documents. You gave them my voicemails. You let them destroy me." He sobbed, a sound that broke me. "I didn't mean for it to go this far, Dad. I swear." My heart lurched, wanting to believe him, but the evidence was a noose. I hung up, my hands shaking, the father in me screaming to save him, the man in me knowing he'd chosen this path. Then the doorbell exploded, a violent pounding that rattled the windows. Through the peephole, I saw Lila Brooks, Vanessa's venomous sidekick, her fake lashes dripping with rain, flanked by Ray Cutler, a shady private investigator known for digging dirt on Boise's elite. Ray, with his slicked-back hair and predator's grin, was Vanessa's latest weapon. I opened the door, and Lila stormed in, her voice a street-sharp snarl. "You're a dead man, Bill," she hissed, her eyes blazing. "Think you can go to the press and walk away? You're a broke-ass nobody, a sad old dirtbag who's too dumb to quit. We've got photos your truck at a shady motel, edited to look like you're running drugs. Ray's got every tabloid ready to print it. Hand over that report, or we'll make sure Boise thinks you're a damn kingpin." Ray smirked, cracking his knuckles. "Yeah, Bill, you're screwed. Keep pushing, and we'll make sure every dive bar in town laughs at your sorry ass." And erect. Their words were a chainsaw, tearing through my resolve. Photos? A drug kingpin? The audacity was a slap. But the thought that Ethan might have helped stage this was a dagger to the heart. I stood tall, my voice ice cold. "You're trespassing, Lila. You and your sleaze get out, or I'll show you what a nobody can do." Lila laughed, a vicious cackle. "Oh please, you washed-up loser. Ethan's feeding us everything, your emails, your voicemails, even your bank logins. He's done with you, Bill. You're just a cash cow, we're done milking." The mention of Ethan's betrayal was a sledgehammer, my chest caving in. Had he given them my logins, knowing they'd frame me? My mind flashed to him at 13, helping me fix a broken fence, his pride in me brighter than the Boise sun. Was that boy a lie? Or was he trapped in Vanessa's venom? The grief was a tidal wave, threatening to drown me, but the rage was a furnace, burning brighter with every lie. Then another blow, my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah Coleman. "Bill, the feds just got an anonymous tip. Says you're laundering money through Harper Builders. Vanessa's behind it. Money laundering." The accusation was a death knell, threatening to land me in prison and wipe out my company's last $10 million in contracts. My hands shook, the room spinning. I wanted to call Ethan, to beg him to deny it, but the logins, the signatures, the silence, they screamed his guilt. Ellen's voice whispered, "He's our son, Bill." But the pain was a living thing, clawing at my soul, tearing apart the father I'd been. I was losing him, my legacy, and the world was cheering for my destruction. Before I could breathe, Jenny burst in, her face pale but fierce, holding a tablet. "Bill, Nate found more," she said, her voice trembling with urgency. "Vanessa's been hacking your personal accounts. $400,000 drained from your retirement fund, Ethan's name on the transfers. Another betrayal, another knife. My retirement, the last piece of security I'd saved for Ellen's memory, stolen by my own son." I sank into a chair, my voice barely audible. "Jenny, how do I keep fighting when it's him?" Her eyes softened, her loyalty a beacon. "Because you're not just fighting for you, Bill. You're fighting for the truth, for the people who've stood by you, for the man Ellen loved." Then the final blow, a call from Nate, his voice grim. "Bill, I found a hidden chat log. Vanessa's planning to frame you for tax evasion, $500,000 in fake deductions, Ethan's signature on the forms. It's enough to trigger an IRS audit." An audit? The words were a death sentence, threatening everything I'd built. I saw Ethan at 20, promising to make me proud, his eyes full of fire. Was that boy gone forever, or could I still reach him? The grief was a weight I could barely carry, but the rage was a fire, burning away doubt. I stood, my voice cold as steel. "Nate, send everything to the feds. KTVB, the Chronicle. Jenny, get Derek on the line. We're not waiting for their next lie." I turned to Lila, still smirking in my living room. "You think you've won?" I said, my eyes burning. "I've got every dollar you stole, every lie you spun, and it's going to the feds, the press, the world. You want to play dirty? I'll show you what a man with nothing left to lose can do. Lila's smile faltered, but Ray stepped forward, his voice a growl. You're bluffing, old man. Those photos are gonna bury you, and Ethan's laughing with us. I held their gaze, unflinching. Try me. They left, their threats lingering like poison. But I wasn't alone. Jenny, Nate, Sarah, Derek, they were my family now, bound by truth, not blood. The Boise rain raged outside, but I was ready to unleash a storm they'd never survive, even if it meant losing Ethan forever. The Boise rain was a relentless roar, hammering my windows like the war drum in my chest. Nate's report was a ticking bomb, $400,000 drained from my retirement, $500,000 in fake tax deductions, all sealed with Ethan's betrayal. The fake photos, the laundering accusations, the doctored emails, they were a guillotine, each lie a blade to sever my legacy. My heart was a shattered mirror, reflecting the father who still saw Ethan's trusting eyes and the man whose soul had been scorched by treachery. His sobbing plea, "I didn't mean for it to go this far, Dad," was a ghost I couldn't banish, but the evidence screamed he'd chosen Vanessa's venom over me. I'd unleash the truth to the press, ready to burn their lies to ash. But as the news broke, a new tidal wave of betrayal crashed in, each blow a vicious claw tearing at my core. I was fighting for my very existence, but what came next was a confrontation that would either save me or break me forever. I was in my kitchen, the television blaring KTVB's breaking news, local tycoons fraud exposed, millions stolen, with my evidence finally hitting the airwaves, when my phone erupted with a text from Derek Walsh. "Bill, the feds are moving in. Vanessa's LLC is under investigation. Stay sharp." The words were a spark, igniting hope, but before I could breathe, my doorbell thundered, a violent assault that shook the walls. Through the peephole, I saw Vanessa herself, her designer heels soaked, her face twisted with rage, flanked by Eddie Knox, a corrupt ex-cop I'd once caught taking bribes on my job sites. Eddie, with his buzz cut and bulldog sneer, was Vanessa's latest enforcer. I opened the door, and Vanessa stormed in, her voice a street-sharp blade. "You're a dead man, Bill," she snarled, her eyes blazing. "Think you can rat us out to the feds and walk away? You're a broke-ass nobody, a sad old dirtbag who's too dumb to quit. We've got a new leak your name on a fake deed, tying you to a drug den. Eddie's got every cop in Boise ready to cuff you. Hand over that evidence, or you'll rot in jail, you washed-up loser." Her words were a flamethrower, incinerating every nerve. A drug den? The audacity was a gut punch, but the thought that Ethan might have helped forge this deed was a dagger to the heart. I stood tall, my voice ice-cold. "You're trespassing, Vanessa. You and your crooked cop get out, or I'll show you what a loser can do." She laughed, a vicious cackle. "Oh, please, you pathetic old fool. Ethan's done with you, gave us your old contracts to twist. You're nothing but a bankroll, we're done bleeding." The mention of Ethan's contracts was a sledgehammer, my chest caving in. Had he handed over my company's records, knowing they'd frame me? My mind flashed to him at 17, helping me draft blueprints, his pride in me brighter than the Boise sky. Was that boy a lie, or was he trapped in Vanessa's poison? The grief was a tsunami, threatening to drown me, but the rage was a furnace, burning brighter with every lie. Then another blow, my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah Coleman. "Bill, the mayor's office just got a fake affidavit. Says you threatened to poison the city's water supply. Vanessa's team leaked it. Poison the water supply." The lie was so absurd, it was almost laughable. But it threatened to land me in federal custody and wipe out my last $10 million in contracts. My hands shook, the room spinning. I wanted to call Ethan, to beg him to deny it, but the contracts, the signatures, the silence, they screamed his guilt. Ellen's voice whispered, "He's our son, Bill." But the pain was a living thing, clawing at my soul, tearing apart the father I'd been. I was losing him, my legacy, and the world was cheering for my destruction. Before I could breathe, Jenny burst in, her face pale but fierce, holding a laptop. "Bill, Nate found more," she said, her voice trembling with urgency. "Vanessa's been forging your signature on loan applications, $600,000 in debt. Ethan's name on the approvals. Another betrayal, another knife. My credit, the last piece of security I'd held on to, ruined by my own son." I sank into a chair, my voice barely audible. "Jenny, how do I keep fighting when it's him?" Her eyes softened, her loyalty a beacon. "Because you're not just fighting for you, Bill. You're fighting for the truth. For the people who've stood by you. For the man Ellen believed in." Then, the final blow, a call from Nate, his voice grim. "Bill, I cracked Vanessa's cloud drive. She's been leaking your personal medical records, claiming you're mentally unstable, with Ethan's testimony to back it up. It's enough to get you committed. Committed. The words were a death sentence, threatening to strip my freedom and lock me away. I saw Ethan at 21, toasting me at his college graduation, his eyes full of fire. Was that boy gone forever, or could I still reach him? The grief was a weight I could barely carry, but the rage was a fire, burning away doubt. I stood, my voice cold as steel. Nate, send everything to the feds. KTVB, The Chronicle. Jenny, get Sarah and Derek on a conference call. We're ending this now. I turned to Vanessa, still smirking in my kitchen. You think you've won? I said, my eyes burning. I've got every dollar you stole, every lie you spun, and it's going to the feds, the press, the world. You want to play dirty? I'll show you what a man with nothing left to lose can do. Vanessa's smile faltered, but Eddie stepped forward, his voice a growl. You're bluffing, old man. That deed's gonna bury you, and Ethan's laughing with us. I held their gaze, unflinching. Try me. They left, their threats lingering like poison, but I wasn't alone. Jenny, Nate, Sarah, Derek, they were my family now, bound by truth, not blood. The Boise rain roared outside, but I was ready to unleash a reckoning they'd never survive, even if it meant losing Ethan forever. The Boise rain had softened to a whisper, but the storm inside me roared on, a tempest of rage and grief that threatened to consume me. Nate's report, $600,000 in forged loans, $500,000 in fake tax deductions, Ethan's name etched on every betrayal had ignited a firestorm across the city. KTVB's broadcast was a seismic shift, exposing Vanessa's crimes to the world. But the forged deed, the leaked medical records, the accusations of poisoning the water supply, they were a relentless barrage, each lie a blade to carve away my legacy. My heart was a bleeding wound, torn between the father who clung to Ethan's childhood promises and the man whose trust had been incinerated. His sobbing voice, I didn't mean for it to go this far, Dad, was a ghost I couldn't exorcise, but the evidence screamed he'd chosen Vanessa's venom over me. As the feds closed in, a final wave of treachery crashed down, each betrayal a vicious claw tearing at my soul. I'd fought to reclaim my truth, but what came next was a reckoning that would either redeem me or destroy me forever. I stood in my kitchen, the television replaying KTVB's expose, local socialites' fraud scheme uncovered. Millions stolen with Nate's evidence tearing through Vanessa's lies like a wildfire. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah Coleman. Bill, the mayor's pulling the blacklist. Your contracts are safe. A spark of victory. But before I could breathe, my doorbell erupted in a violent assault, shaking the walls like a declaration of war. Through the peephole, I saw Charles Wentworth, his aristocratic sneer twisted with desperation, flanked by Lena Stokes, a ruthless lawyer who'd once tried to sue Harper Builders for a fabricated injury. Lena, with her shark-tooth grin and blood-red nails, was Vanessa's final weapon. I opened the door, and Charles stormed in, his voice a street-sharp blade laced with old money venom. You're a dead man, Bill, he snarled, his face inches from mine. Think you can drag my family through the mud and walk away? You're a broke-ass nobody, a sad old dirtbag who's too stupid to quit. We've got a new play your signature on a fake will, leaving everything to Vanessa. Lena's got every judge ready to lock you up for fraud. Hand over that evidence, or you'll die in a cell, you washed-up loser. His words were a flamethrower, scorching every nerve. A fake will? The audacity was a gut punch, but the thought that Ethan might have helped forge it was a dagger to the heart. I stood tall, my voice ice cold. You're trespassing, Charles. You and your hired shark get out, or I'll show you what a loser can do. Lena laughed, a vicious cackle. Oh, please, you pathetic old fool. Ethan's done with you, gave us your estate plans to twist. You're nothing but a cash cow we're done milking. The mention of Ethan's betrayal was a sledgehammer, my chest caving in. Had he handed over my private documents, knowing they'd frame me? My mind flashed to him at 19, helping me sign contracts, his pride in me brighter than the Boise sun. Was that boy a lie? Or was he trapped in Vanessa's poison? The grief was a tsunami, threatening to drown me. But the rage was a furnace, burning brighter with every lie. Then another blow, my phone buzzed with a text from Derek Walsh. Bill, Vanessa leaked a fake audio of you confessing to insider trading. It's on X, 60,000 shares. Insider trading. The lie was a death knell, threatening to land me in federal prison and wipe out my last $10 million in contracts. My hands shook, the room spinning. I wanted to call Ethan, to beg him to deny it, but the will, the signatures, the silence, they screamed his guilt. Ellen's voice whispered. He's our son, Bill. But the pain was a living thing, clawing at my soul, tearing apart the father I'd been. I was losing him, my legacy, and the world was cheering for my destruction. Before I could breathe, Jenny burst in, her face pale but fierce, holding a tablet. Bill, Nate found more, she said, her voice trembling with urgency. Vanessa's been forging your signature on stock sales, $700,000 to a shell company, Ethan's name on the transfers. Another betrayal, another knife. My investments, the last piece of security I'd held for my future, stolen by my own son. I sank into a chair, my voice barely audible. Jenny, how do I keep fighting when it's him? Her eyes softened, her loyalty a beacon. Because you're not just fighting for you, Bill. You're fighting for the knowledge of truth, for the education of justice, for the lesson Ellen taught you about standing tall. Then the final blow, a knock at the door, softer this time, but heavy with weight. It was Ethan, alone, his face gaunt, his eyes red with tears. Dad, he whispered, stepping inside. I'm so sorry. I didn't know how far they'd go. His voice broke, and for a moment, I saw the boy who'd once called me his hero, but the father in me was buried under years of lies. You signed the papers, Ethan, I said, my voice cold. You gave them my life to destroy. He sobbed, collapsing into a chair. Vanessa made me. She said it was the only way to keep our house. The confession was a blade, cutting both ways. I wanted to hold him, to save him, but the pain of his betrayal was a wall I couldn't climb. You chose her, I said, my voice breaking. You chose her lies over me, Em. Before he could respond, my phone buzzed a call from Nate. Bill, the feds raided Vanessa's office. They've got everything $800,000 in hidden accounts, Ethan's signatures. She's facing charges. The room went still, Ethan's sobs the only sound. I looked at him, my heart splitting. Could I forgive him, or was this the end? I stood, my voice steady. Ethan, you need to leave. I can't do this anymore. He nodded, tears streaming, and walked out into the rain, leaving me alone with the ashes of our bond. The knowledge of truth had won, but at a cost. The lesson of this fight was clear. Family isn't blood, it's loyalty, the education of standing up for what's right. I learned that knowledge is power, that the lesson of betrayal teaches you who you are, and that education in resilience is the only way to survive. I walked to my mantle, where Ellen's photo sat, her smile, a reminder of the knowledge I'd gained, the lesson of love that endures through pain, the education of self-worth. The knowledge of my strength was enough, and the lesson of this battle was my freedom. To everyone watching, what does this story mean to you? How does it reflect the knowledge of your own struggles, the lesson of standing tall, the education of facing betrayal? Please like, subscribe, and share this video on RevengeX for more gripping tales every day. Drop a comment with your thoughts. Let's hear the knowledge in your heart. Wishing you all health, a joyful life, and peace every day. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.